Welcome to Two Errors, One Mindset. This is the place for younger adults and parents who are ready to build a better life, starting with their thoughts.
I'm Solomon. I'm right here in the mess of it, trying to figure things out just like you. I'll share what's working now.
And I'm Michael. My job is simple: to coach you through the biggest challenges using the mental tools that actually matter.
Every week, we blend my real-world perspective with my dad's professional coaching wisdom, giving you the playbook for confidence and control.
No hype, just clear steps. Let's roll. This week, what we're going to talk about is what's the fastest way to achieve your goal. Here are the two options. Option one, use your mind to figure out everything that you can do to achieve your goal. Option two, get clear on the picture of what you want, but don't try to figure out how to get from point A to point B. Solomon, which do you think would be the faster way to achieve your goal?
First one?
First one. Tell me why you would get there faster.
Well, you said the second one, you're not really thinking how to achieve your goal. You're just picturing what the goal is. So that can't be the right way. I'm using process of elimination here.
Okay, so your thought is, how could you possibly get from point A to point B if you're not consistently thinking about the steps that you're going to take to get there? Is that right?
Yeah, you're not just going to end up there unless you're a really lucky guy.
Correct. You will definitely not end up there. In other words, option two, which is, I'm going to figure out exactly what it is that I want. I'm going to have faith and belief that I will get it.
But you're not going to do anything to get there.
Well, so this is the difference, and this is what I want to get your opinion on, okay? You are going to do something, but what you're going to do is different than go back to the first option. You want to get from point A to point B. What are all the things that you would generally do to figure out how you're going to get there? And then what are the actions that you would typically take?
Well, it depends what it is. It depends what your goal is.
Well, so let's pick anything. It could be anything that you want.
School, college perspective, to get a certain grade in a certain class. Well, the first thing you do is you got to show up to class. That's number one. You got to show up. You got to take notes. That's number two. You got to apply those notes. That's number three. And there's a whole list of things you can do to achieve that grade, rather than just sitting there and say, oh, maybe I'll get that grade. Maybe
Correct.
It'll fall
So
right into my hands.
Yeah. When you're doing that process of like, you want to get a certain grade in a certain class, and obviously you can't get a certain grade in the class if you're not showing up to the class, if you're not taking notes. Okay. But other than that, what other steps would you have to take? Do you think that would, again, we're talking about option one, where you're trying to figure it all out in your head to get that grade that you want and take the actions that you need to get there? What else would you have
I
to
don't
do?
know. I think, you just follow that path and you'll get there. At least you'll get as close to it as possible. Maybe if you fall short, you fall short. But those, to me, are the ways to get there.
That makes total sense. It makes sense. But you have to do the certain key things for any goal. You certainly can't sit on the couch and say, I'm going to get a great grade in this class, not take notes, not show up, and then just magically get a good grade. I mean, maybe 1 out of 1,000 people could do that because they're just the way they are, but most people wouldn't. But outside of those key steps, how many times throughout the semester do you start to feel stress, especially if it's a class that you're struggling with? Not struggling, but it's a little more challenging.
Yeah, often, and it's normal, very normal to feel stressed. For me, at least, I get stressed pretty easily over class and work that I have to do. And it's all about handling that stress. How are you going to handle it? So now we're on to what you were saying, the stuff that's a little bit more than just taking notes and doing and applying those things. You got to deal with some outside factors like stress, like other things going on. And when it comes to stress, like we talked about a few weeks ago, just slow down, slow it down. Don't rush to get where you need to go. Slow it down and, calm yourself down. And then the work that you're doing, it'll feel slower and it'll feel even easier when you're in a calm state.
When you slow down, what type of thoughts are you generally having in your head?
Well, when you slow down, I don't really think about anything. I let my mind clear. When I'm rushing, oh my God, thoughts from 10 years ago come back into my head.
Yeah, so you said slow down, because as soon as you slow down, not only do you slow down, but your thoughts slow down.
And
why
you'll
would
realize
that be
everything
important?
around you Everything around you slows down.
Give me an example. Like what kind of stuff slows down? You're right.
For me, I live with 6 people, 5 others. And when I'm stressed, it feels like everything is louder, feels like everyone's going crazy around me. But when I'm not, when I'm slowing down, everything starts to quiet down. Everyone starts to talk slower around me. So it's really all about how you perceive it.
It's your
Can't
perception.
blame you can't blame what's going on around you, because a lot of
Yeah,
times
well,
when you
and that's
slow down,
that's easy to
everything
do,
else
isn't
will.
it? It's super easy to just blame. It's like, oh, if they just need to be quiet because when you quiet down, no matter what they're doing, it seems more quiet.
Right.
So again, that comes back to taking 100% responsibility. That's like, I'm not going to point the finger out there. If I want to be successful in anything in life, I have to take 100% responsibility, which
Yeah.
means no blaming, no complaining, no excuses.
Back
And
to
when we're blaming,
episode
complaining,
1.
excuses, where are we pointing the finger?
What do you mean?
When we're blaming, complaining, and making
At anything but us.
at anything but us. And so when you take responsibility, what does that mean?
Means you're not blaming, complaining, or making an excuse. You're owning up and you say, "This is how I'm gonna fix it." And then you do that.
And a key way to do that is what you said was slow down.
Yeah.
So again, what does slow down mean to you? What exactly would you do to slow yourself down?
I talked about this, what was it, a few weeks ago. I talked about how I literally stare at the ceiling,
Right.
how I will just breathe and until there's literally no thoughts going on in my head. And even if you slow down your body, even if, you're still rushing a little bit in your head to do work, if you just slow down your body, you start typing slower, like we said, you start writing slower. You get a sense of calm and a sense of control back that you might have necessarily not had before. So it's all those little things that can really help. And we talk about achieving these goals. It starts with those really little things, and that's what's going to help you get to the end.
Yeah, because don't a lot of people think to themselves, this has to really be a big deal. Like I have to figure out all these huge changes I have to make in my life. And that could be
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Uh-huh.
So what you're saying is no, it doesn't need to be overwhelming. You just have to make small changes. When you make small changes and they stack, then you really do make a big difference.
Yeah, and if you feel overwhelmed, you let it happen. You don't rush out of that feeling of being overwhelmed. Just let it hit you. Let it hit you all at once. Take the feeling of being overwhelmed and then start to slow down just a little bit. But the minute you start to feel overwhelmed, don't try and rush out of it. Feel overwhelmed. Like I said, let it hit you. Take the 15, 20 minutes of, oh my God, and then start to slow down. It's completely normal for that feeling to happen, whether you're in school, whether you're working, doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, because if you don't allow it to be there and you're constantly trying to push it away, what ends up happening?
It hits you harder.
Harder. It's
Hits you
harder
harder and longer.
and it sticks around longer. But if you don't resist, it won't persist, right?
Yeah, good one.
The reason it hangs around is because of our resistance. The more we
Yeah.
resist anything, I was talking to a client this morning. One of the things that we were talking about is like sometimes you go through these things in life and they're painful and they're upsetting, and yet they always lead you to the next place that you need to go. So for him, he was looking at a time where he was working for this company and it was miserable. And then they came at him and essentially said these things to him. And ultimately, he was at a point where he was afraid he was going to be let go from the company, which then drove him to decide to do what he's always wanted to do, which was start his own business. So he goes and starts his own business, and now he is crushing it, and it's easy. But if he started and looked back at that time where all that stuff was happening, how do you think he would have felt initially when that negative stuff started happening?
Pretty bad.
Thank you for listening to our conversation today. Your support means the world to us.
Honestly, it does. We started this podcast to share what we're learning about mindset, and knowing that it's helping even one person out there makes it worth every minute.
Yeah, we'd be so grateful if you consider supporting the show.
You can visit buymeacoffee.com/mindset1 and treat us to a cup of coffee. Think of it as a small, kind gesture that fuels our future episodes.
Now let's jump back into the conversation. Yeah,
like
Well, why would he feel
overwhelmed.
why bad? Why would he feel bad?
Well, because if you're working and you're comfortable where you're at, and all of a sudden that stuff starts happening, you start to think to yourself, "What the hell's going on here? What's going on? Why is all this happening?" You start to question it.
Yeah, and again, if you look back in your life at all the events that you've ever gone through, and especially the ones that weren't so easy, at the time they didn't feel so good, but didn't they always take you somewhere where you needed to go?
Yeah, every time, every time. Like, I look at last year in school, I was a freshman at a school I didn't like, and if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I am now, happy with great roommates and at a great school that I love every minute of. So, you have to look at the negatives, and the negatives create the positives, and they create much more positives than they do more negatives, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. If there was a rule that said life is happening for me, what that would mean, just like in my client's circumstance, when he was going through that, he could say, this is happening for me. I may not know yet why, but I trust based on all the stuff that's happened in my past that there's some reason that's happening and it's definitely going to happen for me and it's going to be good. Now, if
Yeah.
he took on that approach back then, what do you think his life would have felt like in comparison to being all stressed?
He wouldn't have been stressed. He would have just let it happen.
Right. So why do you think we get so caught up in the stress when we've proven time and time again that no matter what happens, it's always happening for our benefit?
It's all in our head. It's
That's
all in our
right.
head. We think that sometimes everything in the world is against us and everything that's happening is it's something trying to shoot us down. But in reality, it's something that's lifting us up.
And the only difference in that thing that you just said was one way you're thinking thoughts that are negative, like, why is this happening? I can't believe this. I'm getting, all those negative thoughts. Or you think another thought, which is everything negative that's happened in the past has always worked out for me. I'm going to view life from that perspective. Now, all you did was think two separate thoughts, but how powerful is the difference in those two thoughts?
Extremely powerful. It's even life changing. That's how powerful it is.
The only thing that creates all of our emotions, all of the ways that we feel good and bad is the thinking that we decide to do when it comes to any situation that occurs in our life. So couldn't you really choose to think in a positive way when a negative thing does happen?
Yeah, all the time. And, you have people saying, why would I think positive if five negative things have happened to me and not one positive thing has? And, they make a good point. That makes sense. A lot of bad things are happening, but you got to trust the process. You got to
Trust me.
trust the process. And it doesn't take a year, it doesn't take five, it doesn't take 10. Sometimes it can take all that time. But if you keep thinking good and saying it's happening for me, it will happen for you. And it might take a long time,
Yeah,
but be patient and remember that.
exactly, because if something occurs and we know that it is for our good, then there would be no reason whatsoever to feel any negativity or any upset or any worry, because the only time we'd feel that is if we're thinking this is happening and this is bad, but it's not.
Yes.
For example, let's say that someone's been dating someone for a while. They like that person,
Mm.
but then that person does something, they cheat, they break up with them for whatever reason. Is that good or bad?
Well, in the moment, obviously, it's not the best feeling and it's bad, but then you realize, "Oh, maybe I dodged a huge bullet here."
I mean,
Or
if
maybe
life is
this
happening,
wasn't meant to be, or all those things, and say everything happens here for a reason, and there was a reason for what happened in this relationship, and it happened for me. It wasn't against me, it was for me.
yeah, what could I learn? That relationship didn't work. What were the things that were happening in that relationship that I can improve upon in the next round? And again, if we use the same scale which we've been using, we look back in our life and we see all the negative things and they always worked out for us. I've asked that question to so many clients, and there's not one client who has said to me that, no, Mike, that's not true. The thing that happened that was bad didn't turn into something good. It always does. It always
Always.
does. We just can't see it at that moment. There's a much higher source that's guiding our life, and we just have to trust in the process. And if we
Yep.
can do that, we're going to be much happier. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on all of this so far?
It's all spot on. In my, 19 years and 10 months of life, I've seen it happen. I've seen things that seem really bad at the beginning turn into great things, and it takes time. It's not gonna happen in a week. It's not gonna happen in a month. It's not gonna happen in a year, but it will get better, and you can't let these things shoot you down because there's so much time that you have. You have so much time for things to get better, and you can't just close the door on everything right away.
Exactly right. You can, but that's a choice. The choice,
Exactly. You
the right,
shouldn't.
yeah, it's a choice, and the choice is I'm trusting that there's a higher power. It has a plan for me. Always has, always will. Or this is bad.
Yeah.
It's a choice, and people say, "Oh, it's not. That's not a choice." When you go through it, you're
Yeah.
feeling bad. Well, what's the only reason you feel bad about anything?
It's because
What's
of
the?
how you're thinking about it.
There you go.
And it's fine. It's completely fine to feel bad about stuff.
Yeah,
Completely fine. Take weeks and feel bad about whatever may have happened. That's fine. But as long as you're learning and growing from it and knowing
correct.
that it's happening for you, like we've said 1,000 times, you are winning. You are winning that in
You
that situation.
definitely winning. And the emotions, it's not bad to allow and feel an emotion. But there's also a point where the line can be drawn because like
100%.
if it's 3 weeks, a month later and you're still feeling that way, it's because you're thinking the same thoughts over and over again. So
Right.
the only way that you're going to feel better is to just start thinking a little bit differently. Like, what can I be grateful for in my life? What are some good things that are happening? Maybe I'll go help some other people and tell
Yeah.
them why I'm so grateful to have them in my life and just go volunteer my time or do something that's different than the standard way of thinking.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like
that
bouncing back to what we were saying about feeling overwhelmed when you're doing work or when you're studying. You let it hit you for a little bit. Same thing in any situation. Let it hit you for a little bit, digest the feeling, digest the thoughts, and then start to build from it.
That's it. And then build. It's okay. I'm feeling this way. And it's also interesting if you realize you're feeling like kind of anxious, it's obviously because of the thoughts that you've been thinking prior to that, or you're just like studying and you're just kind of overwhelmed by the studying and all this stuff that you've been doing. It again, it's just a matter of quieting that mind. And if you just quiet it, breathing, focusing, all the stuff we've talked about, that will start to dissipate. It's when we just stay in it and we don't remove ourselves from it. Like you go outside and go for a walk around the campus. You take a 5-minute walk. What are the chances that your thoughts might be different by the time you get back?
There's a very good chance.
But if you stay in it, what's going to happen?
The same thoughts, the same stress, the same feeling of being overwhelmed. You gotta act on it. You gotta act on it for it to change. It's not
And
just
we
gonna
have
magically
control
change.
over that piece. We have control over that.
100%.
There's no other creature on the planet that can think other than human beings. Every other animal is instinctual. They have instincts. A bear has
Yeah.
instincts. It reacts and does all the a bird is able to fly. I mean, it's all instincts. It knows where to fly south or it just knows. It's instinctual. It's built in. It's in the code. But
Mhm.
for us, been given the power to think. That's good and bad because it's good if you know how to think, but if you don't know how to think, then what happens?
Yeah, then you start to go crazy.
You're right. You do
Everything
go
yeah.
crazy. You
Yeah.
go crazy because no one taught you and you didn't know, and now all of a sudden you're feeling negative and you don't know
Yeah.
why.
The mind it's a tool. It is a tool. Someone gives me a hammer and I didn't know what a hammer was used for. I don't know what I'd do with it. Same thing with your mind,
It's a
you
great
know?
point. If you take the hammer and you smash your hand, it's gonna hurt. But if you use
Yeah.
it for its purpose, which is to hammer in a nail in the
It's
wall,
gonna work. It's gonna be
it's
good.
serving its purpose. But we
Yeah.
weren't taught initially how to use the hammer, and that's how to think. Like,
Yeah.
you have to understand because if you just had the hammer and you start hitting your head and your arm and your leg, you're gonna be in a lot of pain because no one taught you how to
Exactly.
use the hammer. But if you were
Yep.
just a little kid, a couple years old, and you don't really know much, and I give you a hammer, what are the chances that you may not use it the right way?
There's a very good chance.
until a parent says, "No, this is how
You
you
gotta
use it."
use it for nails.
But no one taught us, even up till today, for most people, no one's ever really taught them.
Yeah.
So we have this hammer that we're slamming all over the place, hurting others and hurting ourselves, and we're wondering why, because no one ever taught you about the hammer. That
Mhm.
makes sense?
Yeah.
So learn how to use the hammer.
Learn how to use the hammer.
All right. So I want to go back to what I was saying initially, but I'm going to use it in a different example. Okay. Let's say I want to earn $500,000. Okay. I know my goal is I want to earn $500,000.
Mhm.
I could sit and on a piece of paper write out all the steps and all the things that I need to do. And I'm going to make 50 calls a day and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I'm going to meet these people. That's one way of going about it. This is going back to what we were originally talking about. I quiet my mind because is my mind quiet when I'm trying to figure out everything?
Not at all.
No. And when your mind isn't quiet, what are the chances that you'll get an intuitive hit, something from within, like a knowing? If there's all that noise, will you hear it?
Not at all.
And isn't intuition sometimes extremely powerful? Like suddenly you'll just get this idea or a thought that pops in your head out of nowhere. And then you
Right.
run with it. And suddenly, like, that was amazing. I'm so glad I had this idea to call that
And
person.
yeah, it literally pops up out of nowhere.
It pops out of nowhere. But when those things pop out of nowhere, what generally happens when we act on those things?
Good things happen.
Isn't that true though? Like when
Yeah, no, it is.
intuition isn't a conversation. Intuition is a sudden thought, like call that person, go do that thing, try this new thing at the gym. It could be anything, but it's just a quick knowing thought and you have a feeling like, yeah, this really feels good.
Yeah.
However, if your mind is going crazy with all of those thoughts, will you ever hear that intuition?
No, it's being blocked. It's blocking it. There's too much there. There's no room for the good thought to come in because it's being blocked by all the commotion.
There's tons of commotion. And when there's tons of commotion, I mean, imagine being at a train station and all these people are yelling and screaming and talking. And then across the way, someone's whispering something to you. Will you be able to hear what that person's saying with all that screaming and yelling?
Absolutely not.
That's exactly what our mind does. So our mind is creating this chaos. And in the meantime, we're missing out this intuitive stuff that's coming from a much higher source. So
Right.
God, divine, universe, whatever you want to call it, there's a part of that that's in each one of us. It's trying to communicate with us, yet we're making so much noise trying to figure it all out. We're missing those messages. What do you think about that?
100%. No, I agree. And it's a good way to look at it too. I didn't think about it that way.
Right. That's why I wanted to bring it up. So my suggestion is instead of trying to figure it all out, be in the present moment. The way you get in the present moment is quieting your mind and just know you can even ask a question like you'd ask, what would be the next best thing for me to do in order to achieve what I want to achieve? And then
Mhm.
just be quiet. And
Yeah.
it may not come right away, but what will generally happen if you give it time and you stop trying to figure it all out?
It will. Those thoughts will pop into your head. They
And
will,
then what do
and
you
they're gonna come slowly,
yeah.
but act on them or at least give them a second thought,
Yeah,
you know?
if I was gonna create a rule, my rule would be don't wait, just act on it because that thing that you're hearing, that intuition, which is coming from a much higher source, that knows way better than we could ever know.
Right.
So go with that. And then maybe it's, hey, go talk to that person. Then I'm talking to that person. And as I'm talking to the person, they give me this great idea. Here we go. It's starting to happen. And then I act on that idea. And then as I'm
And then there
acting
you
on that
go.
idea, another thought comes, wow. Oh, and then you go act on that. Now you're going from point A to point B way faster. And the most incredible thing about going to point A to point B like that, if you're thinking about thoughts, is what? Is it more
No,
peaceful?
go ahead.
No, I was
I
going
mean,
to,
yeah.
yeah, it's
Well, when
way
you're
more.
letting it come to you, yeah, your mind isn't going in a circle
Yes.
like moving my hand around like that. Your mind is like, slowly. It's like the beach at low tide. Things aren't crashing down on you. It's coming in slowly. The thoughts are coming in, and that's it. It's not like everything's crashing on top of you all at once.
Yeah, you're not at the train station with 8,000 people screaming and yelling with the kid trying to whisper something across to you. It's impossible to hear that. But that's what most people are living on a day-to-day basis. They have the train station in their head and they're
Yeah.
wondering, why can't I figure this out? Stop trying to figure it out. Get yourself quiet, ask the question, be patient. The right idea will pop up. And then as soon as that pops up, you act on it. And then the next idea will pop up and the next idea and the next idea. And then suddenly you're at point B and you've done it. What do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I think it is possible. I don't think it's always going to be perfect. We're talking about it like it's always going to work, but it will work most of the time. It's just trust it, be patient, and always give those thoughts that come in a second thought. Don't
So
overlook them.
I love what you're saying. You were saying it's not always going to work. First, that's a thought. That is true. Like that's a thought that you could choose to have. But what would get in the way of it actually working? In other words, if this is a practice and we've got to practice doing this consistently for us to be able to hear those messages, we got to quiet down our mind. What needs to happen in order to do that?
It's all us. It's all,
Practice.
yeah, yeah. It's all what we do. It's all how we look at it. We can't blame any other sources
That's right.
for it working or it not working. It's all inside.
That's right. And you know what? Maybe what happens sometimes is like you're waiting for that intuitive message, and then your mind starts to do the train
Starts to
station.
race again. Yep.
You're in the train station and you're wondering, why isn't this working? I'm trying to do it and it's
Yeah,
not
but you're
working.
trying too hard.
That's right. Because the train station started up again. It's time to
Yep.
quiet. You got to leave the station. And that's
Uh-huh.
like quieting our thoughts.
Yeah.
So we just quiet the thoughts and again, that's a practice. Are we used to quieting our thoughts for most people?
No.
No, they're used to the train station and they're trying to navigate life in the middle of a train station with someone whispering what they should do next in the midst of 8,000 people screaming.
Yeah,
That's pretty hard for anyone, isn't it?
it is.
This is how most people go about life.
Yeah.
They say, "Oh, I'm going to A to B. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to have my mind's going to go crazy. It's going to be screaming and yelling. It's going to tell me to do this, do that, do this, do that. And I'm going to feel totally stressed out and I'm not going to feel at peace. And I'm certainly not going to feel present." And I'm suggesting, what if there was an easier way, but we just have to practice it because we're not used to it?
Yeah.
If you were able to practice that, what would your life be like? Again, how would you feel consistently if you practiced that consistently?
I feel like I'd feel more composed in situations where I need to be composed, like whether it's giving a presentation or whether it's studying for a big test. You feel more composed and more calm rather than letting everything race and then you don't even know what you're saying.
That's
You
right.
start to spit out things that are in your mind that are in that train station or in those waves crashing down, and it doesn't really make sense. But if you have nothing going on except for those important things, that intuition, what comes out is going to make a lot more sense,
Yes.
and it's going to get you further.
You used a great example, which is like if you're giving a speech, you're talking in front of a group. If there's a train station going on in your head as you're talking, what are the chances that you're going to be able to say the right things?
You're just going to spit out words, just
Slow
words.
down, calm the mind, speak slowly, and
Yeah.
allow for whatever is going to come out to come out. I mean, obviously, like you have a certain game plan when you're going to speak, but you just have the game plan. Then you can just allow it to come out however it comes out. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be the exact way that you were going to do it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Why do you think this discussion is so important to discuss?
Because this stuff happens to everyone. The
Yeah,
mind gets overwhelmed. Everyone's mind gets overwhelmed, and we want to, help with how to deal with that,
that's
and what to focus on when you're thinking about important things to, help with your business, help with school, whatever it may be.
yeah,
That's the most important part. Like, just try it. Give it a try. And everyone thinks differently. Some people never have that train station going on in their mind. Some people are blessed to have a very slow mind and everything comes in slowly and they pick it up and then everything comes out perfect. But most people, it tends to speed up pretty quick. It happens to me, it happens to you.
Everyone.
And yeah. So just try it. See the difference between having a train station going on in your mind versus having a calm walk in the park in your mind.
Yeah, because when
And
you're
see how your thoughts change and what comes out. See the difference in what comes out when so much is going on versus when nothing's going on. And I
it's
guarantee
so
there's a difference.
it's so true. You ever notice when you go on a vacation and you're sitting on the beach and you're totally relaxed? Do you ever have like ideas or like inspired things come up in your mind because you're so peaceful at that moment? That mind isn't doing that. And then what generally surfaces?
Good things when you're
Yeah,
peaceful.
like, I remember going one time on vacation and, like, coming back with this whole business idea that came to my mind when I was there, but the reason it came because I was so calm and so peaceful. Again, I quieted the train station on the beach. You don't usually have a train station
Yeah,
going on because you finally relax.
exactly.
This is what we're going for. So, just to summarize, again, the way that this works is you got to figure out what it is that you want. You got to be abundantly clear. Like, I want to make a $500,000 this year. And then, like, just knowing clearly what it is. It could be, it doesn't have to be money, it could be in a relationship. I want to meet this type of person. They're going to have this type of personality. They're going to be caring, loving, kind. You just map it out and you're real clear on what you want.
Yeah.
And then the belief is this is the most important. The step two is I got to have a belief that this is going to work. And the
Mhm.
belief is there's a part inside of me, that's a piece of God, and I'm going to trust that God's going to serve up the next thing for me, whatever that is. Maybe it'll be an idea to go to my friend's house, and then I go to my friend's house and I meet this person, right? We don't know. And that's the thing. We don't have to figure it out. It will come, but we just have to
Mhm.
trust. So we got to be clear on what we want. We got to have a belief that there's a higher power inside of us that's going to serve up these ideas. And the most important thing is when they get served up, we take action on them, and we take action on them immediately, because that's a direct telegram from a very high source telling us this is what you need to do to get to that next step along the
Yeah,
journey.
agreed.
Any last thoughts before we call it?
Just quiet down. Quiet your mind down and, focus on those thoughts that come in once your mind's quiet. That's pretty much it for me.
I was talking to a multi-million-dollar producer, okay? You know what he told me? The best thing that he's ever learned how to do was quiet his mind and not try to figure everything out.
Yeah, not try to that's
Coming
a good
from a
one.
guy that's a multi-million-dollar producer, and he's calm and he's peaceful and he's a good guy. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? It's not a
Yeah.
guy that's taking advantage of other people. So, on that note, well, you're finally finished your break. You're going back to school. So, the next one will be from school.
Yeah, it's about time. This break was way too long.
Yeah. Well, I was glad to have you back. That's for sure.
It was nice to be back.
Good. All right. Well, have a great one, and we will see everyone next week. Take care. That brings us to the end of the conversation today. We truly hope you leave here with a few new tools for your mindset toolbox.
If anything we talked about today, from challenging your beliefs to taking that 1% step, resonated with you, we'd love for you to share it.
Our goal is to bridge the gap between generations. If you know a young adult who's struggling with self-doubt, or a parent who could use a fresh perspective, please share this episode with them.
You never know which simple questions or ideas might change someone's entire week or even their whole outlook.
You can find our episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you again for being a part of our mindset community. We'll see you next time.